Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. MacArthur. I'm going to be your instructor for Chemistry 1A. This is the first time we're ever offering this course as a free textbook course. It's also the first time that I am teaching this as an online course, although I've taught the Chemistry 3A course as a hybrid course for several years now. So welcome to the course. There's going to be a lot of new things for me as well as for you this semester. So I want to start it out by just giving some introductions in terms of how we are going to be using the online platform for learning in this course. The goal is that hopefully you have gone through this information by the time we have our first meeting in the class. If you would like to just watch this video and then decide which of these various things are going to be the most helpful to you, that would be fine to then look at those in more detail. But I'm basically going to walk through this module 0 through this video and tell you what will be important in terms of how that will apply to this course. So this is basically saying a lot of the things that I'm talking about now in terms of welcoming you to the course. The video, of course, will be a new one, so don't look at that link. There'll be a new link for this course. And then related to Canvas, there are some things here that might be helpful to you in terms of any technical information related to the getting into Canvas. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you are able to get in just fine. But if something comes up later, that would be something to be aware of. Some information on just online courses in general. And then if you are in need of academic accommodations, the information for that is here. So when you're kind of finished reading each thing, at the bottom, there's a next button that goes on to whatever the next thing in that module is. So let's go ahead and do that here. This is a section for questions about anything related to the way the course is being taught. Not so much the content of the course, but things like this video is, explaining how we're expecting that to work. So this is where you would ask those sorts of questions. So if, it's a question about, well, how do I access something, for example, that this is a place for that. This is just some information about how I want to communicate with you. So hopefully that's clear up front. And basically the best thing is, through Canvas. And, part of the being an online course is that you can be learning the content at any time. So I try to get back to you within 24 hours. It might be 48 hours if it's on the weekend. And then with the late work, that does need to be updated because we're not doing that homework. So I'll update this to match what's in the syllabus. And then in terms of being dropped from the class, I don't try to do that very often. But if someone is not showing an interest in the class, then that can happen on occasion. Basically, if you do need to miss some time, if you let me know, that's the main thing. And then we can make accommodations if necessary. However, it is very important to attend the labs because it is a lab course. You need to have that experience. This is a copy of the syllabus. I'm not going to read through it here, so go ahead and look through that on your own, and that will provide you the information you need in terms of how to succeed in the class. And then this is the schedule, also very important. This is showing the important dates in terms of when we are having various labs, when we have exams, things of that nature. A couple things I'll mention here. while we're looking at this. You'll the first week we don't have any pre-lab expectations, but starting on the second week you will need to have your notebook ready to go with your procedure, and we'll be talking a bit about that during the lab in the first week in terms of that expectation, but you'll need to look at the schedule to figure out when these labs will be and be ready for those, and then when the exams are. The exams will take place in the lab when we meet in person, so just be aware that you'll need to come ready for taking an exam, and then once you're done with the exam, we'll have some amount of lab activity depending on which week it is. We'll that could vary a little bit, and then you'll see there's places where I'm collecting the notebooks. What is not on here are the quiz and homework due dates, so we'll talk about that a little bit here shortly. One of the things that is part of your grade is participating in the discussion boards. So each module will have a grade for that. And this is showing kind of a rubric of how that will work. So you want to make sure each week you're participating in the discussion board. And there's a lot of possible ways to do that are shown here. And part of this is, as you'll notice, that it's not just that you're saying something, but you're responding to what someone else has said as well. And of course, we want those to be kind of substantive conversations. If it's simply, yeah, I agree with that too, that will be, minimal grade for that, but not a whole lot. So you want to make sure you are adding to the conversation on the discussion board. And this is something we can talk about in more detail, either on the discussion board or when we meet for lab, if this is going to work for us. And then there is a quiz. So over the stuff we just covered, there's a little quiz about, just making sure you understand that. You can take it as many times as you want, and that will affect, it's a graded quiz. It's not worth a whole lot, but just a little bit to motivate you to get started on the course. The other thing I wanted to have you do before our first meeting is to make a schedule of what you're going to be doing to work on this class, because we're not meeting together in person for the lecture part. That's done on your own time. You want to make sure that's something you can do and that you can find time for that. So I'm giving you a schedule. You can use this one, you can make a different one, and you don't have to tell me every detail of your day, but it's just, when is the time you're setting aside for this class? It's not just going to magically happen on its own. You need to have it blocked out in your schedule of, this is the time I have for this. You obviously have time for other things in your day as well. But if you don't, block out that time, it's very easy to not get it done. So make sure to put it on your schedule. And 9 hours a week is, I think, what you'll want to be successful. In some cases, you might not need quite that much, but it's better to err on the side of, I'm going to have this available if I need it. And then here's a great chance to introduce yourself. So I introduced myself a little bit here at the start of the video, and there's, I think, a bio on here somewhere as well. But please introduce yourself to me and to the rest of the class. There'll be additional things you can introduce separately to me later. So if you don't feel like sharing it more generally, there'll be a chance for, if you have any specific concerns for the class that you don't want everyone, all the other students to know about, there'll be a chance to share that as well. This is more just what you want everyone in the class to know about you. And then we have a math proficiency quiz. This is not a graded activity, but is important, and that it will help you get a sense, and me as well, get a sense of what kind of effort you'll need to put into the class to be successful. Because there is quite a bit of math that does come up in a chemistry course, we want to know, like, as we're going, are you also learning math at the same time as you're learning the chemistry? Because if you are, you might need more of that time. So you might need more like the 9 hours a week. Whereas if you feel very comfortable with chemistry, that could be half as much time, for example. So if you, so go ahead and take this, try to do your best on this quiz. But if you score below a 16, you're going to need more of that time. So closer to the 9 hours a week to do well in the course, typically. I say typically, again, because this is in general, right? Specific people that I've had in courses have done, fairly poorly on this and done very well overall. But it's because they were willing to put in the effort, whereas some people have done very well on this that didn't put in an effort and didn't do well in the class. So it's more getting a sense of how much effort you'll need to put in to be successful. However, if you do score below a 12, it might be best to consider taking either Chemistry 3A, we sometimes offer Chemistry 10, or kind of maybe beef up with some additional math classes before taking Chemistry 1A, because again, math will be very important. So please take this. Again, it doesn't affect your grade, but it helps get a sense of how much effort you'll need to put in to be successful in the course. So I wanted to, I mentioned this as well, that this is sort of more of a personal information that you would maybe not want to share with the rest of the class in the introduction discussion board we had earlier, but you might want me to be aware of. I will be handing this out when we meet in person, but if you wanted to look at it ahead of time, you can. If you want to fill it out ahead of time and take the time to think about it, about what you need, right, to be successful in the class, you can do that. So this will be something I will look at related to assigning you to lab groups. So that's kind of why I have this. So if there are particular concerns you have about, who you want to be working with, what kind of people you want to be working with, that's what this is for. Again, I'll say a bit more about this when we meet in person, but if you wanted to see it beforehand so you're not kind of caught off guard, feel free to look at this as well. And then once you are working together, we'll have a little icebreaker, so I won't go through that right now, but this is something you'll be seeing when we do meet in person. So we basically went through module 0, okay? And you saw, this is the stuff that you'll want to have done before the first day of class. And then actually I misspoke there. So the laboratory activities are all in their own separate module. So you'll want to be able to get to that and look at the schedule to see which lab that you are working on. So that's the second thing. And then after that, we have the module 1, which is what we'll be getting into next. I want to say a few things about this before moving on. I haven't recorded these videos yet, so there'll be some videos in here when you do this. But what you'll be doing is you'll notice there's some worksheets that are here. You don't need to turn in those worksheets. For the next module, you'll notice there's, I think, even more worksheets. Some of the worksheets in Module 1 we'll be doing as sort of lab activities. But these are things that you kind of want to do as a way of making sure you know how to master the material in the module, and you can discuss them on the discussion board. Again, this will be graded, so what you can do on this discussion board is you can type in something where you say, okay, I looked at this worksheet and I think this is the right answer for question number 1. Or you can say, I looked at this worksheet and I'm not quite sure about question number 1. I know such and such about it, but I don't know how to find this other thing. So you want to say a little bit about why you have the question, not just that you don't know, when you do have those questions. And that's where we talk about this and make sure we understand the material. So this is where if we were having an in-person class where I would stop and say any questions and then you ask those questions. But we're all doing it at different times, so you put it on the discussion board. It is great if you can answer someone's question here, but I will answer them eventually. I usually leave a little bit of time for students to answer so that you can get some credit for that. But if no student answers, then I'll come in and provide the answer myself, probably after about a day. So kind of check it regularly if you would like to participate by, helping other students with questions. Also, I want to highlight here, so there's the discussion board and then there's a quiz. So let me go ahead and open the quiz. So it's telling you when the quiz will be due. This will be, each quiz will tell you when you should take it by, the time that you should plan to spend on it. Usually these are available for about 24 hours before we meet for lab. Not every lab, right? Depending on the module, some modules will take, longer than others, but it tells you which day that will be. And if you don't do well on the quiz, it's not the end of the world. You can also do a homework assignment. Those are worth 90%. If you get all of the homework right, you get 90%, whereas you could get up to 100% on the quiz. Also, the quiz will be 20 minutes, whereas the homework might take you an hour or more to complete. So ideally, the worksheets will guide you to do well on the quizzes, and you don't need to do that homework, but you always have the option of doing that. That paper homework, so again, because we have a free textbook, we don't have the kind of instant response homework that you may have seen in some of your other courses. The way the homework works, it will be something you turn in on a piece of paper, and you will be turning that in at the time of the exam, not the quiz, but the exam. So you'll have some time to think about, okay, do I want to know this stuff better than I do now? Do I want to get a better grade than I did on that quiz? Things like that. You want to be able, you'll have the chance to think about those things. So that is a little bit of an introduction to what to expect here. When we meet in person for the first time, hopefully you've watched this by then. And if you have any questions, we can go through them there, or you can ask them again on this Q&A forum. If you want to jump into Module 1 before the first date, that's fine. And that would actually be great, but it's kind of optional. But you will want to look at the schedule. I think by the second day is when we will have Module 1 completed, second or third day. But look at the schedule for that. Again, welcome everyone. Look forward to seeing you all in person very soon.